So he's made suggestions that he wants to buy MSNBC. He's already suggested like who he might drop from the schedule and all of that kind of stuff. But there doesn't seem to be any reality to this, in that it's not actually for sale. And Lord knows how he'd go about it. I'm sure he could afford to buy it, but does he really need another business right now?
And so what is actually the situation with MSNBC? Is it for sale or not?
So it's been separated off. They're basically putting their news organizations. So Comcast have basically put NBC, their US network. That's the golden goose, and that's still remains super profitable. What they've tried to do is spin off various other elements of the business, including MSNBC and CNBC, which is like two of the sort of US news and corporate news, city news channels. And they're trying to grow the value of that new business. So it's a spin out to try and increase the value of its assets, not sell it off, as many people had suggested when this was first announced.
And this isn't the only news broadcaster that Elon's had comments about recently. He's also taken some pot shots at PBS. Can you explain to us what his take is there, what his beef is with public broadcasters?
I think the situation Elon Musk has at the moment is anything that he disagrees with is part of the woke mind virus, and anything that perhaps contradicts the narrative that he's trying to deliver is stuff that he suggests has no place in common society. We're in a ridiculous situation at the moment where Elon Musk and various acolytes are chanting that X is the largest news source on social media worldwide. There's just no evidence to back that up. And now the company's privately owned. Elon talks about X, his social platform, going from strength to strength to strength. But the numbers that we can see independently don't seem to line up in any way, shape or form with the numbers that he's claiming publicly.
And why would he want to defund PBS exactly?
Well, I think he's trying to get into a variety of arguments. I'm sure, just wait till he gets his hands on the BBC in that sense. I'm sure he wants to be in a situation where there should be no money handed over to organizations like this and media organizations. And you find yourself in a really sort of strange place in that if you go back to MSNBC for a second, it's a network that now has less than 500,000 viewers a day, because the reality is viewing figures are dropping on traditional broadcast TV channels. Yet he still seems to want to suggest that it has an important place in his world, despite at the same time saying that traditional media is dead. So this is all trolling, and it's a common phrase that's used for people like Elon Musk. He's there trying to get clicks. He's there trying to get engagement. And that's why there's all these ridiculous rumours as well that he's thinking of bunging Nigel Farage and reform $100 million. It's just all building into the man, the legend, the myth.
Is this part of a sort of wider foray almost into the media landscape by Elon Musk? You know, initially we saw him buying Twitter. Is that just perhaps an opening salvo in a way of a Musk media empire?
Well, I said if Elon Musk was to purchase Twitter, I'd eat my hat. And I actually kept to my word. I ate a paper hat for somebody because it was so unrealistic and so ridiculous when it was first suggested. And I've been following Elon Musk's career for nearly 20 years as a technology journalist. I don't think he's got the time to build a media organization. I think he just likes the fact that people seem to think that he is going to own the liberal media. He's going to own the left, as it were. And it seems to be his followers and his supporters are kind of really engaging with, oh, wouldn't it be great if Elon took this more moderate news channel in the US and built it into his own vision. And we've seen firsthand what building Twitter into X, into his own vision, has caused. It's highly possible he could buy it for $500 million or $1 billion, and that wouldn't impact Elon Musk's bottom line at all. I hope we get to a stage somewhere soon where the investors in his other companies start to say, please pay attention to the businesses we are paying you huge amounts of money to run. Tesla, SpaceX, those are two businesses that would require a normal person's full time. And now he's got this government department, which isn't even a government department. That's just the kind of roller coaster, crazy world of Elon Musk.
So, yeah, you mentioned his government department, Doge, that it's been shortened down to. Um, does he have any actual power or influence through that department to affect these sort of media changes, things like closing down PBS or NPR?
If there's government funding related to it, arguably he could be suggesting to Donald Trump and all of the other people associated with the Trump administration, bizarrely including the wife of the bloke that started the WWE Wrestling Federation, has joined Elon Musk's crowd as education, the new head of education. So you find yourself in a strange situation where anything could possibly go. Elon Musk purchased Twitter because he wanted the world to see what a great guy he was. He wanted the world to see him as he believed he should be seen by everybody, and he was also forced by a court in Delaware to purchase the platform. Whether or not he actually goes one step further and buys a news organization bears to be seen. But I think he's got plenty on his plate already. And I think the government efficiency drive, however long that lasts till he falls out with Donald Trump, because those two have never, ever particularly got along based on what you can find even publicly available. So it's going to be very interesting to see what occurs over the next, I'm not even going to say 18 months. I'd probably even say the next 6 months.
And through X, Elon Musk now seems to be trying to get involved somehow in the purchase of the InfoWars media platform, of course, Alex Jones's platform, to The Onion. What's going on there?
Yeah, if you stop and pause for a second and you consider that site was taken to court and bankrupted over somebody suggesting children were not killed, that kind of gives you an indication of all you need to know in perhaps Elon Musk's views and leanings on free speech and society. Essentially, I do not think the action to try and delay the sale of InfoWars will do more than delay it. Elon Musk is a troll with deep pockets. He can troll on the internet and say ridiculous things to the extent he can then end up accidentally buying X. But at the same time, he can also support his friends and delay actions through courts. And the very fact that the InfoWars brand was bought by a company to poke fun out of it and make parody of it kind of has angered Musk to support his friend Alex Jones and also try and create some kind of cockamamie legal argument around the fact that X owns the rights to the InfoWars accounts on its platform and nobody else can decide who owns it. So it's just going to delay the inevitable that those assets get handed over to the owners of The Onion.
And is there something of a cautionary tale here in terms of the politicization of media platforms like Twitter, that being not really new anymore, but a newer form of media are more vulnerable to being bought by someone who might have an agenda and is able to force it through using that platform?
Well, it's interesting, and we haven't really seen that political influence of these platforms yet till Elon Musk nailed his flag to the mast with Trump. We've seen or heard stories that Mark Zuckerberg has been taking trips to Mar-a-Lago for dinner, but Zuckerberg has typically stayed out of the argument, trying to almost keep his platform apolitical, to the extent that in the US election, he was actually restricting reach, so people were seeing less political posts on the platform than in any other US election since the platform had launched. Whereas Musk had doubled down on pro-Trump related content on his platform. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these political arguments and these political leanings present themselves. But that's not particularly different to media in any country. There's not really sort of there's left and right leaning media organizations. And I guess as the social media landscape matures and maybe some of these assets end up with either powerful legacy media owners or newfound the next generation of powerful media magnates, you're going to find it more bending to their wills and their kind of worldviews. And X is probably the first example of that. It's going to be hellishly interesting if the the owner of TikTok, for example, suddenly decides to lean in a particular direction when they've got such an influential and influenced group of young people on that platform. It'd be very, very interesting to see what would happen. And you imagine governments around the world would literally be, having some kind of coronary because of the worries of the influence and power.